If you buried your pirate hat, now's the time to dig it out again. Look how the industry just massacred my hobby. You know, I missed the time before greed took over. Because when PlayStation tells you that play has no limits, they're actually wrong because it turns out it does. Hit the like button and subscribe, baby. Ring that notification bell. We're streaming this month. I'm pretty sure it's either this month or next month. I'll make sure you're here on the channel to see the first stream ever. And don't forget to give me a follow on Twitter. If you want to see me triggering a bunch of losers, go over there. It's hilarious. Now, when I tell you that Sony only cares about shareholders, what I mean is that Sony is forcing everybody to pay for the Concorde failure. I know everybody calls it the Concordian tax. It's absolutely real. They are so desperately trying to squeeze every bit of money from their stupid fans because of the massive L's they've been racking up recently. I guess Sony really wants us to stop buying their games because if buying isn't physically owning, then pirating isn't virtually stealing, is it, Sony? I'm sure Socrates said at some point, you know, if you can't own a game, you can't pirate a game. But the thing is, you're gonna pay $80 with no physical disc, internet and service outages, overly expensive consoles, and you have to pay for network play. And they wonder why people are going to Jack Sparrow's bar to sign up so they can sail the high seas. Because at this rate, we will own nothing and we won't be happy either. You know what? Let me just go back for a second. Like I said, you're not getting a disc, you're not getting split screen, no game manuals or posters. I mean, we were just getting this stuff not even a decade or 5 years ago. But now we have to deal with PlayStation's monopoly, the physical game stores closing. It's not a pretty sight, is it? And the thing is, we're the ones getting punished, not Sony. And the thing is, what are we getting in return? We're getting more expensive games, more microtransactions up the arse. We have GTA 6 making you pay $80 without seeing any gameplay, making you pay for extra stuff without the game even being released yet. They're locking gameplay stuff behind a $100 paywall. And you wonder why people are just sick of this nonsense. The only thing this is doing is keeping me from buying any new consoles. We'll pay nothing if that's the way they want it. Now, I have to be honest, I'm being very optimistic because I know 99% of people are gonna buy GTA 6 regardless. They'll pay for any Sony slop that comes out. We can't pretend that people live with principles and being responsible with their money, because people like me are the minority. The majority don't even care. And really the sad part is that you hear the phrase, the power lies with the people, and you will never guess that by the way people act by buying stuff because of FOMO. And I must say, it's easier now for people to organize than ever, but people are just lazy. Because the only way stuff like this changes is if enough people boycott GTA 6, and that's never happening. Because if you buy that game when it comes out, if you buy the physical edition with just a piece of paper with a code on it, you are just normalizing getting a code in a box for the foreseeable future with every game that comes out. I mean, by the way, I remember the time when DLC was considered a scam. Now it's a thing that's advertised before games even come out. It's a crazy world. Now, I can already see a future where consoles cost like $2 grand and digital only games cost like $100. And then they'll get delisted a year later. Tell me you don't think that's gonna happen. It's a bloody mess. Do you remember that, like, Sony Interactive was a Japanese company that brought us masterpieces like, you know, the PS2, the PS4, and even the Blu-ray disc? Yeah, well, those days are over. Sony will kill PlayStation games on disc in 2028 and offer digital downloads only. Now, you probably already know this, but what you need to realize is what these corpos like Sony are doing are so anti-consumer that it falls into the realm of being evil. That's right, evil. And the worst part is if your account gets banned, or let's just say it gets hacked and then banned, Sony being Sony will do nothing about it and you could lose more than $500 worth of games. That's the disgusting part about this whole thing. Sony said on Wednesday that it would stop releasing new video games for PlayStation console on disc in January 2028 following a shift in consumer preferences. I don't know about anybody else. We're gonna get to, by the way, Sony basically admitting defeat. But I want to ask you right now in the comment section, are you going to buy the next PS6? Because I'm telling you right now, no, don't buy the next PS6 console. Because I certainly won't. You're not gonna get that much of a graphical increase if you already have a PS5 or a PS5 Pro. And then after this, forget about it. This is why Sony doing this is exactly why piracy still exists. I see Pirate Bay making a huge comeback. Following this date, new games will be available on the PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. What is the point of having a retailer that sells you digital codes? It's insane. Anyway, the company said on its official PlayStation blog, in practice, that means gamers will have to download directly from Sony PlayStation Store or obtain a download code when purchasing a title from a retailer. Sony, you know what you need to do is just call it renting, because purchase means ownership. Wherever this is, whatever you're doing clearly doesn't fall under that. The absolute nerve of Sony announcing this right after removing 500 movies that people own from PSN due to expiring licenses. This is why physical matters. If you paid to have a copy of a movie, then they don't have a right to take it away from you by deleting it. How this isn't a class action lawsuit, I will never know. This is just brutal if you're a consumer. I mean, this is the bare minimum that you can literally ask for. What if a major EMP thing happens in your state, around you or whatever, and all the digital media in that area is permanently lost? Physical media prevents this from happening. But Sony doesn't want that. See, Sony wants to end physical media because it's about ending ownership. Licensing is much more profitable than retail, isn't it, Sony? Now, let me tell you why Sony has admitted defeat. I had to tell you all of the preceding stuff to get to this point. Reddit moderators are removing posts criticizing Sony's physical versus digital sales comparisons from some PlayStation-related subreddits. This is Sony basically admitting they've lost. Because imagine being a moderator and saying, leave the multi-billion company alone. I hope that boot was worth licking, you absolute scumbag. You pathetic, worthless whore. I mean, what happened to exchanging ideas on Reddit? I mean, this is why Reddit is facing long-term decline. It's a complete shithole. They can't tolerate any hard questions that challenge their narrative bubble. I mean, you can literally get banned on Reddit for saying, you know, I think Scarlett Johansson is hot. Boom, you've got a 2-week or a month ban just for that. Anyway, this is exactly what I meant by Sony admitting defeat. They can't handle it. They're giving the marching orders to the little dweebs who run these subreddits. In the past day, multiple users shared charts and older Sony data, arguing that the company's headline digital sales percentages don't compare physical and digital versions of the same games. Some of the posts were later removed from certain subreddits, with users reposting them elsewhere after the originals were taken down by moderators. With one of the posts saying they're lying about digital and physical sales, 85% includes PS Plus, DLC, indies, etc. Now, if you don't know what this is about, what the information they're sharing is that a few years ago when the Sony leak happened, there was a lot of internal data that said that developers over at Sony said that physical copies of their games are still a large part of their overall revenue. You can't apparently bring that up at Sony's stupid subreddits. Now, the reason why that's significant is because when Sony a few days ago announced that they're stopping physical copies, they mentioned that the reason they're doing this is because nobody buys physical copies of games anymore, which we know now is a lie based on their own developers' words when that leak came out. When those developers said that physical copies were still a large part of their games, and Sony being the insidious scumbags that they are, when they said that 85%, they included PS Plus, DLC, indies, etc. in those numbers. It's all just a scam, it's all just a trick, so they can no longer develop physical games, so they can turn into a digital wasteland and do whatever they want with your copies of games. It's disgusting. I'm telling you, this is gross. And you know, for as pathetic as Microsoft and Xbox have been, I don't even think they would pull something like this, but then again, let's just wait and see. But let's get to these Reddit moderators. Imagine removing stone cold data that people in your subreddit would benefit from knowing. You don't think that PlayStation fans in a PlayStation subreddit would like to know that Sony is actually lying about their data? You don't think that's important for them to know? No, see, they have to pull the wool over their eyes, and they think it's that easy. And you know what? It probably is. It's not easy for you, those watching this channel, because I tell you the truth always. I mean, isn't it ironic that these community-run subreddits care about corporate brand image than actually supporting their fellow consumer? It's just disgusting. Now, I found something else that I thought was very interesting. This guy over at Twitter said, they removed my goddamn hours of physical games, and I can't even find the other games in my collection. F you. Now, apparently, physical copies of games don't count towards your hours. The reset is happening, folks. It's already going on before your very eyes. And this is why competition is so important. With Xbox basically being completely useless, Sony is now dominating and treating its consumers like the that they are. And you know what? It doesn't even cross people's minds that these evil corporations will do evil corporation things. I don't believe a single word they say, because remember the promise of digital being cheaper. Due to no labor required, I'm still waiting for digital to be cheaper. The gaming industry needs to crash, and it needs to return to how it was 20 years ago. Early 90s up until what? You know, the early mid 2000s will forever be gaming's golden years. I'm just glad I was able to enjoy it until it lasted. I remember when we could just buy a game, go home and play it. No install, no online check, no restart. Now all we get is just AAA slop. And then that AAA slop copies the other AAA slop. I mean, if just imagine if GTA 6 sucks, can you imagine the meltdown that's gonna happen online? But the reality is, even if it sucks, people will still play it and call it amazing. We've all seen it before, and on that bombshell, it's time for you to finish off that backlog you've been putting off for a while. Manix out.